The city lights flash across the night sky, offering a stark contrast to the lives of the people beneath them. Among them is Gi-hun, a man deep in debt, struggling to survive in a world that seems to have forgotten about him. As he walks through the streets of Seoul, he notices a mysterious man in a suit handing out a card with a symbol. Gi-hun looks at the card, hesitates, and then pockets it, his only hope in a world that has abandoned him. What he doesn't know is that this small piece of paper will lead him into the deadliest game of his life. Seong Gi-hun, struggling with debt and desperation, encounters a mysterious man at a train station. This man, a well-dressed and calm figure, offers to play a simple game of dakji, a traditional Korean paper flipping game, with Gi-hun to earn some quick money. At first, Gi-hun is skeptical and reluctant, but the man promises that he will be paid if he wins. However, Gi-hun loses multiple rounds and, to his shock, the man hands him a substantial sum of money, despite Gi-hun's loss. The man then gives Gi-hun a business card and invites him to participate in a mysterious game. The card contains only a phone number, which intrigues Gi-hun. He is told to call the number if he's interested in a larger game, promising a significant financial reward. This encounter not only sets the stage for Gi-hun's involvement in the Squid Game but also introduces the strange and enticing opportunity that ultimately leads him to the deadly competition. Other players are similarly approached, each lured into the game by the promise of an escape from their own financial troubles. This seemingly innocent interaction marks the beginning of their participation in a life-altering gamble. Game 1, Red Light, Green Light. The players are brought to a massive, isolated island, their identities stripped away. They are told they will participate in a series of games, each more deadly than the last, with a grand prize of 45.6 billion won for the last players standing. As the first game begins, the tension is palpable. Gi-hun, along with 455 others, stands in a vast arena, faced with the first challenge, Red Light, Green Light. A giant doll, eerily lifelike, watches the players with cold, mechanical eyes. The rules are simple: run when it's green light and stop when it's red light. As the game begins, players race forward, some desperate, some cautiously moving forward. But the moment the game begins, the consequences are brutally clear. Any movement when it's red light results in an instant death. The first shock of the game hits as the first players are shot, and the horrific realization sinks in: this game isn't just about winning, it's about survival. Panic ensues, and players begin to make rash decisions. Some freeze in place, others dash forward recklessly, and the doll's eyes turn red, signaling the brutal executions of those who moved. By the end of the first game, over half the players are dead, and only 201 players remain. The air is thick with fear, and the survivors know that the worst is yet to come. As the reality of death sinks in, the remaining players are filled with despair. Gi-hun and others debate the morality of continuing. The survivors are given a brief respite, and they hold a vote to decide whether they should continue or go back home. The vote is heated, filled with emotion and disagreement. Gi-hun, we can stop this now. We can leave and go back to our lives. Sang-woo, we're already in too deep. We might as well finish it now, or we'll die for nothing. Some players argue desperately to leave, others beg to continue for the promise of wealth. The tension builds as player 001 suggests they could walk away if the majority chooses to leave. A small fraction votes to leave, but the majority agrees to continue, seeking redemption in the games. The 201 players who remain agree to continue the deadly competition. The decision is made, and the mood shifts from uncertainty to a more resolved, albeit grim, determination. The arguments continue as players move toward the sleeping quarters, some expressing anger and frustration toward those who voted to continue. The stakes have been set, and the remaining players understand the full implications of what they're about to face. Game 2, Honeycomb. The survivors are brought to another game, where the players are given a small tin of candy with a shape embossed into it. They are handed needles and told to carefully carve out the shape without breaking it. The shapes range from simple circles to intricate umbrellas. If the player breaks the shape in any way, they will be shot. The game's tension builds as players struggle to carve the delicate shapes, some using saliva to soften the candy, others panicking and trying to rush through it. Gi-hun struggles with the umbrella shape, but he succeeds, realizing that some players like Sae-byeok have a unique skill to excel in these challenges. Ali, too, shows his determination, relying on his focus and precision to complete the task. But soon, the clock runs out, and many players fail. Some are shot immediately, while others try to make a last-minute attempt, leading to more deaths. By the end of this game, only 156 players remain. The survivors are shaken by the brutal reality of the game. This isn't just about winning, it's about who will do anything to survive. Game 3, Tug of War. The remaining players are split into teams, and the challenge is a game of tug of war. They are suspended high above the ground, and the losing team falls to their deaths. The players must use strategy, teamwork, and strength to overcome their opponents. Gi-hun's team is stacked with a mix of unfit, LD players and those who are physically weak. But the real strength comes in the form of clever planning and strategy. Gi-hun's team, using the weak players as pawns and a brutal tactic of using the weight of their bodies, manages to outsmart and defeat the other team. They survive, but not without experiencing the harrowing reality of life and death with every pull of the rope. By the end of the game, only 90 players remain. Game 4, Marbles. In this emotional and gut-wrenching game, the players are paired with each other in two-player teams. The rule is simple: each player has 10 marbles. They must challenge their partner in various games, and the winner takes their opponent's marbles. Whoever loses all their marbles dies. Gi-hun is paired with his childhood friend, Sang-woo, while other players, like Ali and Sae-byeok, are forced to compete against each other. The emotional weight of this game is immense, as the players must betray their closest friends and loved ones in order to survive. Gi-hun is forced to outwit Sang-woo, who betrays him in a brutal way, convincing Gi-hun to play a game of chance and manipulating the rules. At the end of the game, Gi-hun survives, but his emotional devastation is clear. He's won, but at the cost of losing his friend, and the guilt weighs heavily on him. Ali is eliminated by Sang-woo, and Sae-byeok also loses her partner in a heart-wrenching moment. The remaining players feel the crushing weight of betrayal, and only 130 players remain, each with their own struggle and pain. The entrance of the VIPs after Game 4, Marbles, adds an unsettling layer of tension to the already oppressive atmosphere. As the game ends and the remaining players are left to grapple with the loss of their partners, the camera shifts to a lavish, hidden section of the arena. The VIPs arrive in style, their identity concealed by ornate, animal-themed masks and expensive, tailored suits. They step into their private, elevated viewing area with a sense of theatrical grandeur, their movements deliberate and purposeful. From this vantage point, they look down on the players below, who are still reeling from the emotional and physical toll of the marble game. The VIPs, sitting in plush chairs with glasses of expensive liquor in hand, exude an air of cold indifference, discussing the games as if they are nothing more than a form of entertainment. Their conversations are filled with casual bets, laughter, and mocking commentary, as they eagerly await the next round of violence. With no regard for the lives of the players, they treat the Squid Game as a grotesque spectacle, a sickening display of power and wealth. The players, unaware of the VIP's true nature, are left to face their most dangerous challenge yet, the glass bridge. The VIP's arrival marks the beginning of a darker chapter in the competition, where the lives of the players become nothing more than pawns in a twisted game for the amusement of the elite. Game 5, Glass Bridge. The next game is a test of luck and skill, Glass Bridge. The players are led to a towering structure of glass panels suspended high in the air. They must cross the bridge, but some of the glass panels are rigged to break when stepped on. The players must take turns stepping onto the panels, knowing that one wrong move could send them plummeting to their deaths. As the group advances, the tension mounts. Gi-hun hesitates, his fear of heights overwhelming him, but Sae-byeok and Ali press on. The risk of stepping on the wrong glass panel is high. One player, after another, falls to their deaths, as the tension reaches its peak. Eventually, Gi-hun makes it across, relying on his wits and trusting his teammates to guide him. By the end of this game, 16 players remain, the game taking its toll. Game 6, Squid Game. The final game is the most brutal and challenging of them all, Squid Game. This is the game from which the event gets its name. The players are split into two teams, and Gi-hun is pitted against his old friend Sang-woo. The rules are a mix of strength, strategy, and quick thinking. The game takes place on a squid-shaped field, and the goal is to reach the home base while trying to prevent the opposing team from doing the same. The game is a ruthless test of everything the players have learned so far. They must use every trick in the book to survive, and Sang-woo, now desperate, will stop at nothing to win. The two are locked in a brutal fight, with Gi-hun on the verge of collapse. As the game goes on, Sang-woo's desperation leads him to a dark decision. He kills himself to give Gi-hun the victory. Gi-hun wins the game, but his victory is bittersweet. The Squid Game is a symbol of greed, and as Gi-hun stands victorious, the cost of winning is clear. The emotional toll of the game, and the guilt of what he's been forced to do, are overwhelming. Once the games conclude, the remaining players face the reality of their situation. Gi-hun, now victorious, is given the 45.6 billion won prize. But the cost of the games is much higher than anyone could have imagined. The trauma, the loss, and the violence weigh heavily on Gi-hun's conscience. He is haunted by the faces of the players who died, by the choices he was forced to make, and by the guilt of having survived when others did not. The guards are deployed to find and collect more players. They track down individuals in the streets, offering a promise of unimaginable wealth in exchange for their participation. The game is sinister, and the players' desperation is the key to the system's success. Gi-hun and others were initially unaware of what they were getting into, but now, the guards systematically target players to force them into the deadly games. After the game ends, Gi-hun returns to his home, only to find that the world around him hasn't changed. He still faces his struggles with debt and familial obligations, but the money from the game offers him little solace. The prize money feels hollow, and Gi-hun can't escape the haunting images of those who died. He attempts to reconnect with his mother and son, but the trauma of the games continues to eat at him. At the airport, Gi-hun is preparing to leave the country, hoping to escape the memories of the game. As he approaches the gate, his phone rings. The number is unrecognized, but he answers it. Voice on the phone: "Congratulations, player 456. Your victory has caught the attention of many. We are ready to welcome you back to the game." Gi-hun's face freezes in shock. His heart races as the voice continues. Voice on the phone: "The Squid Game is still in play. New players are ready, and the next season has already begun. We will be watching. Will you return?" Gi-hun stares at the phone, the weight of the decision pulling him in. The world around him is not what it seems, and his fate is forever tied to the Squid Game. Will he return? Only time will tell. The camera zooms out, revealing the world beyond the game. Season 2 looms ahead. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more updates on Season 2.